I'm Roy Sekoff, and I'm the editor of the Huffington Post. The Huffington Post was actually born from a number of different impulses. One of them was to try to get Ariana's Rolodex onto the web. This tremendous treasure trove of people and connections having fascinating conversations, and the idea was, could we bring that onto the web? The other idea was, could we take online journalism to the next step? And by that we were looking to not just aggregate news stories and not just have original reporting, but also to have real-time opinion with a blog roll at the same time, a group blog. So that was the real, inciting moment, if you will, was when we were deciding to try to have news and opinion blended together. At the Huffington Post, we really believe that the future of journalism is going to be a hybrid. It's not going to be that new media is going to kill old media. Actually, new media is serving as an alarm clock, serving as a wake-up call to the old media. And we're seeing that the quote-unquote traditional mainstream media is taking on a lot of the trappings of the new media, whether it's transparency, immediacy, the sense of community, the communication back and forth with readers. And at the same time, we're seeing a lot of new media sites starting to do some of the things that traditional journalism did, whether that be breaking stories, getting scoops, doing original reporting, investigative journalism. So I don't think that the Huffington Post thinks that we're going to, or even wants to, replace the New York Times. That's not the goal. Certainly we compete for stories, but we see us as coexisting in a hybrid future. Ariana has always had the sense that there's this very inbred chattering class. The same people talking about the same things at the same bars, riding on the same buses. So that's sort of the mentality, is the on-the-bus mentality, riding around with the candidates, sort of all with this echo chamber. So the idea was, well, what if we had people from off the bus, who weren't on the bus, coming from a completely different perspective? And what if we could spread that out all across the country and sort of have this mosaic of different points of view from all across the country, all different kinds of people? So we created the Off the Bus, part of Huffington Post, the Citizen Journalism Project, and we put out a call, and we in fact have had what we call distributed journalism, which is people from all over the country going to events in their neighborhood and some following the campaign and giving a different perspective than, let's say, from the New York Times or the Washington Post or ABC News or CNN. I think in some ways we're in uncharted water when it comes to journalism. All of us, whether it's the old media, the new media, citizen journalists, longtime reporters, all trying to chart this new path of the immediacy. It's less time to think about it, but it's also the transparency. Here's what happened now, and then we sort of process it as we go along. A story is not just planted once, it evolves, and you keep changing it, and you can polish it and do an update, and then a second update, and then someone else linked to it. So there's this whole ongoing thing. And I think it's created some questions about, well, how exactly do we carry ourselves? And there are certain cases, specific cases, with Mayhill Fowler, who was one of the citizen journalists for Off the Bus. For instance, in the first one, when she recorded Barack Obama speaking at a fundraiser, there was many people there with recorders, many people with camera phones. And the Obama camp themselves later said that everything that they say they now consider on the record, because there are so many people recording. You never know how it's going to be captured. And then later, the incident where she talked to Bill Clinton on a rope line, this was a public event. There were people all around who could hear it. It wasn't any kind of subterfuge or trickery. She was on the rope line, and she asked him a question. She asked him a leading question, and there's been some question, hey, is that bad? She asked him a leading question. Actually, that's kind of journalism 101. If you remember this big imbroglio that just happened recently with General Wesley Clark talking about John McCain's record as a POW. Well, Bob Schieffer, the host of Face the Nation, was the one who asked him a leading question, saying, well, wait a minute, Barack Obama was never in a plane and shot down and held prisoner, and that's what prompted Clark's response. So was that a leading question? Yeah. Was there anything wrong with it? Absolutely not. Anything that empowers voters is a good thing. Anything that decentralizes the coverage of a campaign is a good thing. And I think YouTube and online videos have really done that because, you know, as we say, a candidate has to be on guard. But what are they going to say? They can't get away with their macaca moments. And you can't get away with saying, oh yeah, I was avoiding sniper fire in Bosnia. Because you know what's going to happen is that video is going to come back and it's going to be cut together and it's going to be replayed again and again and again. And we've seen this to good advantage and to bad advantage. I mean, I think, you know, the Reverend Wright controversy, a lot of that was fueled by a kind of soundbite mentality where things weren't necessarily in context. But at the same time, I think it's, you know, this is what it's about. It's about transparency. It's about always being prepared. It's about having to be held accountable for what you say. If you're going to sing bomb, 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 bomb Iran, if you're going to say, I wouldn't mind if we're in Iraq for the next 100 years, well, you got to be ready to back that up because there's going to be people there with a camera phone and it's going to be up on YouTube and it's going to be clicked on and played and 1 million people are going to see it. And I think we've also seen something that I really like, which is the rebirth of satire. And this is not, I'm not just talking about, you know, late night comedians cracking jokes, but real satire holding the candidates' feet to the fire and showing something in a new light through humor. And I think that's one of the things that really works online, and one of the big things that I like about watching on YouTube is finding those satiric videos that take something, juxtapose it with something else, and suddenly you have commentary. So I think that's been a great thing for American politics. The real key for any budding journalist is obviously, how do I break through? How do I break through the din with all these blogs and all these different sites? And the answer is, have a take, have a voice, trust the voice. And that's the key, a distinct, specific point of view. And I think that's one of the things that made the Huffington Post different, is that we were actually trying to do something that we consider branded news. And here's what I mean by that. If you take CNN.com or you take Yahoo News or Google News and you take away all the signage and you take away all the, you know, the branding and you look at it, the stories are largely the same. But if you do that to the Huffington Post, if you take away the signage and you take away our logo and you take away all our layout and you just look at the stories, I think you'd still know that it was the Huffington Post. So in that way, you know, it has a very specific point of view, a very specific voice, and I think online, if you're trying to break through, edgy helps, having flavor to what you're writing helps, and also being in the right place at the right time helps. So those are the things that I would say that an aspiring journalist should shoot for.